like number one being extremely dependable. The second one is being authentic. The third one is being tough. And together, and that's the big thing. And so, and the key phrase we say is everybody eats. So E.A.T, extremely dependable, authentic, and together.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head boys basketball coach at Melissa High School, Stephen Friar. After a career as a firefighter, Coach Friar started coaching as an assistant at Frisco Liberty High School. After 3 seasons, he became the head coach at Liberty and finished with 130 wins and 57 losses in 6 years. He led the Red Hawks to 3 district championships, including a regional quarterfinals appearance. Coach Friar was named District Coach of the Year 3 times. He's entering his first season as the head coach at Melissa High School. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
How's it going, Coach?
There he is. What's up, Coach?
Hey, nothing much. How you been?
I'm good, man. Good. Thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on, talking some hoops with me. This is awesome.
Yes, sir. No, happy to do it. Definitely excited to talk to fellow basketball coaches and all that stuff. So,
well, tell me something. But first, golly, I gotta say this. Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
for taking over a new program in Melissa. Man,
yes,
rich history there. Like that. That's pretty special. Congrats.
No, I appreciate it. No, it's after I just my part of my basketball journey. I've always dreamed of being in a place like that. And just the one high school town, the community, being able to have development going up from the youth programs all the way to high school. And I'm a family man. I have 4 kids myself. So having all that all rolled into one, especially in Collin County where I'm from, I mean, it's a dream come true. So I couldn't be happier.
You're right. That is a pretty special environment right there where you pretty much get to know a lot of those kids from when they're little. And
exactly.
Like you said, get to have your hand really all the way down through, especially coming from Frisco ISD, which I'm sure you loved your school. And there's nothing against any of the Frisco schools. But in that ISD, how many high schools now? 12?
12, yes, sir. 12. And it's growing a lot.
I remember, Coach, I remember playing at the Colony where we would have to drive up north to play at the 2 high schools up that way, Frisco High and McKinney High. And that was it. So, yeah, things have changed, man.
Oh, yeah, it's changed a ton. I was a Plano East grad. I graduated in 2002. And so, it's changed a lot since then, a ton. So,
who did you play for at Plano East?
Steve Adair. Yeah, Coach Adair was my coach. Yeah, so I'm great man. He passed away 2 years after I graduated. But, yeah, he's an awesome guy. So.
Ever since I started listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast and then reading some of his books like Tools of Titans, I've always been fascinated with the daily habits of great leaders and coaches. Yeah. So what are some of the daily habits that set you up for success?
Yeah, so, I mean, wow, phenomenal. So I think the first thing is, I like to attack every day, just with a purpose, and I think that, when it comes to coaching, I mean, just anything in life, you're called to do something bigger than, what your job is. You're called to do your purpose, essentially. And so for me, every day I wake up at 4:45 every morning, regardless, so some people think that's early. For me, that's just the time where I have my me time. I'm a father. 4 kids. My wife is in education too, and she likes to sleep in. So that's kind of my time for myself. So I get up, I do a devotional every morning. It's really kind of gets my mind in the right frame of mind and kind of focused in on something outside of myself, and then I go work out. I go to the gym and I, lift weights. And, it's not the same workout every time, but it's kind of just my time to be myself, and so every single day, I mean, it's a devotional, it's a workout, it's some type of something to kind of charge my brain up and charge my body up to where I can go in and attack the day, And so I'm a morning person, so habitually, I mean, that's kind of the things I love, doing. Aside from that, I mean, those are the 2 main ones I say every single day, but aside from that though, it's just daily stuff, trying to make sure you win the moment. That's the big thing.
Always been a morning person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm jealous of that.
Always.
I can't tell you just how many people that I feel like I've read about or listened to, and these high functioning leaders
Yeah.
successful, they get up early and they
Got
dominate the morning. And
Got
I
to.
struggle to do it. And so you start to wonder, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why
Yeah.
can't I? Because, like, I mean, that even like right now, this time we're doing spring stuff here. So like I'm up at the school at 6 a.m., but
Okay.
that 5:15, that alarm goes off, and I feel like I'm back in college, and I'm going over those excuses again of why I don't have to go to class today. I already got it. I already know what I'm doing. Like I'll think these guys don't need me to go, but man, like they're the motivate. They don't realize it. They're the motivation for me to get up early. But yeah. So 4:45, you said.
4:45 every morning I get up, and the one. It's funny you brought up college, and that's another story. When I was in college, and I went to college, the Ozarks in Branson, Missouri, and like of course, being from here, there was one morning I didn't wake up. I don't know if I was up late the night before or what, but didn't wake up, and there was snow on the ground. So I knew it was going to snow the next day. So I'm thinking, I'm from Texas, we're going to have a snow day. I'll never forget my roommate, and he's a big coach in Missouri. He coaches in St. Louis, and he does a great job there. But he left, he was already at the practice, whatever. And so anyways, bell rings or not bell rings. It's like 4:45. I kind of look up my clock. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get up. I roll over. I see snow on the ground. At about 5 o'clock, I hear a knock on my door. I'm still half asleep. What's going on? My coach comes in, our strength coach comes in and pulls me out of bed and said, hey, you're running to practice,
Wow.
So he made me walk to practice in the snow, and everybody's in the gym stretching, and he's like, Texans, So, but anyways, no, I'm definitely a morning person. I like getting up, attacking the day, like getting off to a good start. Just kind of getting myself, have my own me time for a little bit there. And because as soon as I, leave home and go to school, it's all about work and business and all that type of stuff. And then I leave school and go back home, I have 4 kids under 11. They're all jumping on me ready for dad.
There's no such thing as me time when you get home after school. I get that. I love the fact that you use the word purpose. Yes. Because I think most coaches, I mean, a high percentage,
yes, they
have a purpose for why they're doing it. It's not just wins. It's to influence and to be a part of these young men, women, their lives. Yeah. But I think that's what we talk about with our players a lot, which is whatever they choose to do in their life, for them to feel a sense of purpose with it, because you're right on the money. Purpose will allow you to get up in the morning excited about the day. Purpose will allow you to it'll give you staying power when 100%. Man, things just get tough. So I love that. I think that's a great way to talk about starting off your day.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's the, my father, he was a fireman for 33 years. He was in the military and everything. And so I kind of grew up in that environment, but, he's always told me and kind of instilled in me that, your career is what you're paid for, but, your calling and your purpose is what you're made for, you know what I mean? And so for me, kind of knowing that and kind of having that, drilled into me as a youngster and everything, I took that path initially. I started being a fireman, and then it just wasn't, like I said, purpose-driven in a sense, and so I made the switch to education 9 years ago, and I mean, I couldn't be happier, I mean, I tell people all the time, I would do this for free if I didn't have to, pay a mortgage and take care of the family. But no, I love what I'm doing.
Don't tell your bosses that. They'll take you. Oh, really? Oh,
really? Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. Kind of similar feelings. Before I figured out that coaching was, I don't know if you're the same way, but I had some moments in junior high where now I look back and I see, okay, maybe coaching was in my future, but I had coaches tell me that I would be make a good coach. And I think probably a lot of coaches that played had that, but I never wanted to do it. And I thought actually, when I kind of got back home from playing, and I thought about doing the fireman thing, and it was about the time that Ladder 49 came out.
Oh wow, the book.
And I watched the movie. I watched the movie, and in one of the scenes, I mean, they're in the fire and something happens to them, and it just changes life. And I thought, okay, I need to figure something else out. Yeah, but man, that's incredible. 33 years, your dad doing that, and I mean, I can definitely see how that rubs off on you because, helping others and sacrificing like those guys do. Talk about purpose, man.
Oh no, that's the whole. I mean, it's just the servant's mentality. I mean, that's the big thing, and I mean, a couple of things that even going to a new place, and we'll talk about that later on. But like, that's the big thing that when you're transitioning from a place you've been at 9 years to going to a new place, in any walk of life, really, you start out by serving. And that's all, and that's an everyday thing. And so. knowing that I had that, instilled growing up, seeing my dad go serve others, and I mean, even off the clock, he was doing things, why that, that was huge for me. And so that would be the big thing to emulate. And when you have a purpose and your purpose is, driving everything you're going to do, then you're going to be more equipped and more involved when it comes to serving and doing things for other people. It becomes less about you and more about like what you're called to do, And so that's exactly what, I'm excited to be doing. So.
Where do you get your workout at?
So I go to 24 Hour Fitness right now.
Nice.
I go there. But I mean, sometimes like when it was COVID, I was at home, doing stuff, and then I had my kids out there doing it, everything too. So we're a sports family. We like to get out there and get stuff. But when it was shut down, that was tough. So I had to kind of be more, more selective and
more
kind
creative,
of more creative too, especially. Yeah.
And I'm always curious to see where guys are working out. I have a 24-hour fitness membership myself, but I mean, you were a pretty good player. I mean, obviously you mentioned playing at College of the Ozarks, but had a great career, won a national championship.
Yes,
has that type of, so I've told our guys that, yes, we're lifting for basketball right now and to get stronger and everything, but this is also a life skill. Like the goal is for them to stay active for their entire lives. Like my weight will fluctuate, but it never gets like so far that I can rein it back in. How important has that been for you and maybe coaching and how you show up every day?
Oh, huge, because I do think that like there's a sense of being able to model and practice what you preach in a sense, And so I mean, like my goal always has been like, and I'm 38 years old right now. I'll be 39 in June. Is that okay? Every year on my birthday, I'm gonna try to dunk. So to see if I can still do that, And then just to kind of give the kids a sense of like, something they can see, something tangible they can hold on to in a sense, And so for me, it's like if I can tell you guys and say, hey, listen, fellas, I want you guys to get up with purpose. I want you guys to serve. I'd like you guys to make sure that you're doing something outside yourself and also keep yourself well equipped, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Then I have to make sure I'm doing the same thing as well, So ideally, and that's part of the workout too. I mean, just to make sure I just feel better. My body feels so much more equipped to handle things. And as in college, I mean, Coach, I gained 35 pounds in college because of the weight room, And so I mean, I got there as a skinny freshman at College of the Ozarks, and I was like 185 pounds, and then I graduated. I was 6'4", 220, and I felt just better, and just felt more equipped to handle everything on the court, and then just felt more better about life. I felt more positive, it just really increased my self-concept a lot. So
I think you can see the difference between the way that maybe like football players attack the weight room, that mentality, even baseball players. Like I'm in the weight room sometimes when our baseball teams, they just get after it. I'm pleased with where I think our weight room culture is going at Faith, but you and I both know that initially majority of basketball players, are resistant and don't see the value in the weight room. What are some things that you've done besides modeling yourself to maybe improve the weight room culture in your program?
Yeah, so we number one, we try to tell them that, I mean, we have an egoless program all the way around. So everything's egoless. So egoless on the court, egoless in the community, and then egoless in the weight room, So we try to tell the guys like the most tangible model of success you can see is when you're lifting weights and you're seeing like, okay, I have 100 on the bar. That's my max. That's the most I can get at that point. Well, you look up 2, 3, 4 weeks later, you're at 105 or you're at 110, and so things that guys kind of see tangibly like that really helps motivate them and really equip them to kind of want to get after it and everything. I remember 4 years ago, we were playing somebody, I think our freshman team was playing school, and like we saw our freshmen, we saw their freshmen, and my assistant coach, who's like my best friend, he and I are sitting next to each other like, our freshmen don't look like them. We need to do something. We need to figure this out, and we lifted weights, but it wasn't as intentional, So the intentionality behind it from that point on has really helped our players, not just mentally, but physically. And they really, I've seen just the gains, and it's just cool to see that environment, We try to get as hype about them, lifting weights as we are about them taking the charge, or we are about them getting on the floor or making a three or a put back dunk. We try to make the weight room as exciting, sometimes even more exciting than the stuff we do on the court, just because that's something, like you said, it's kind of foreign to basketball players. It's kind of like, I don't want to mess up my shot. But then we're like, okay, well, we're showing videos of Michael Jordan lifting weights with Tim Grover. We're showing videos of Steph Curry, how he was as initially coming into the league and how he is now. Like the weight room does help. Just a matter of like attacking it like you attack anything else. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, Kenny Bourne, got to talk with him, and he was going over some defensive things, and I asked him, like, what's the number one way to kind of increase your defensive culture, the pride that players take. He said number one thing is weight room. He's like, if you get them bought in there, it completely translates to the tenacity, the toughness, how they play on the defensive end.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, if you feel like you can, like, push your body past the point to where, like, you even thought you could, then defensively, like you said, I mean, you're more equipped to mentally to handle things like that. Like, okay, I'll take that charge on that guy who may jump out the gym. This guy and I are about to have a 50-50 ball collision. Like, am I going to win that? Well, I've won in the weight room. Maybe I can win over here. We do toughness things and stuff too, kind of facilitate that as well. But, like, yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said about that. So.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
This is super unique, the timing of our talk, because just recently getting the Melissa job. I mean, you're leaving a school that you said you're at 9 years as the head coach, but how long overall? Were you there just 9?
So I was there 9 total. I was 6 years head coach. Okay. I've been here 6 years as head coach. Yeah,
so, but I mean, a decade, so like you're a part of an established culture, and then now you're taking over a program where obviously, if people don't know, like Melissa basketball, like in the past, they've done some amazing things. I'm thinking of Hondo Webb and all those guys that used to play. Legacy, coach. Legacy. They've got a great basketball legacy. So you're coming in with some of the things that you like. How does the culture drive performance in a program?
Oh my goodness. So it's funny because if you asked me this question when I first started being a head coach 6-7 years ago, whatever, I would say that, you have talent and you have culture. And, you have to have both in order to be successful. But if your talent is really good, your culture is really bad, you might win some games, but you're not going to win those tough games. Let's flip it. If the culture is really good and your talent's really, really bad, yeah, you're going to have a great culture, but like even some games you play, you're not going to win as much. When I use this past season we just had as an example, like I've had teams that are way more talented overall, and players know that. I tell them all the time, but at the same time though, because the culture was so firm with these guys and so strong with them, that we won a lot of close games against teams that, people looking at us getting off the bus, looking at us on paper, you wouldn't have thought we would have won, And so when I look at things like that, that's the first thing you pour into, Yes, kids are going to do skills. You can get them to do skills, shoot shots, do drills that you want them to do and everything. But it's really about, like, what can I do to, benefit the whole, And so the culture piece is really just trying to make sure that, and I know you didn't ask me about pillars, but 4 pillars for me is just like, number one, being extremely dependable. The second one is being authentic. The third one is being tough, and together. And that's the big thing. And so, and the key phrase we say is everybody eats. So E.A.T, extremely dependable, authentic, and together, And so when that comes into play, when you're extremely dependable, everything that we talk about kind of goes back to that culture, If you don't show up to practice on time, well, you weren't dependable. So how can I depend on you to be on help side when I'm getting blown past, I can't depend on you to get the shots in that you need to get, And so things like that drive it. Authenticity piece, like I talked about, if you can't be real with me, then I can't be real with you. And so as a coach, you want to model that by being transparent. I talked to him about, me having, a strong belief in Christ. I talked to him about me having flaws as a man, as a person, as a husband, as a father, So the more authentic and transparent you can be, it really kind of drives that too. And then being together, is just showing them you're a person more so than a basketball coach. I don't want them to look at me as Coach Friar, the coach. I want them to look at me as, Coach Friar, the person. I'm a basketball coach, as far as that's secondary to me being a person first. So, but yeah, I think culture is so big on driving that performance, because, like, when you get them to really, build that relationship up and then get them to really, like, respond to everything you're doing, then those results will come after that. So yeah, I'm all in for, building that culture up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You said early on about, like, maybe when we're starting out, when we're younger coaches, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably like 90% we focus on X's and O's and skill work.
Yes.
10% of how they feel or how we show up or what the
Yes.
standards are.
Yes.
Because the idea is, well, if I can just make them good, then we can focus on those other things. But you're so right on the money. Like they go hand in hand because they're never going to become as skilled or as good as they could be if
Correct.
the culture is not where it needs to be.
Correct.
So I think if I could go back and do it over again, starting as a younger coach, it would be valuing the relationship side and the culture side with players more than the skill.
100%, 100%. And I think that's what, just looking back on everything, I told you about the weight room story and things like that. We started really pouring into the culture piece of it. It seemed like it was amazing how much the skills, grew exponentially, you know what I mean? And that's the great thing about it is because like when they really see that you care about that and those little things like that and really, pour into that more so than the X's and O's, then like they'll respond to the X's and O's after you build that relationship, and do all that type of stuff. But like you have to really pour into that culture piece first. And like you said, as a young coach, I mean, we're like, oh, X's and O's, I have to run this offense and do this and do that. And then you get in the game and it's a dogfight. Well, like, we're getting like, I mean, a hype play, we call it a hype play, like where a kid takes a charge or we get 3 stops in a row. And I'm looking down my bench and the bench is just like, okay, it's like a golf clap.
Golf clapping.
Like, this is basketball, And so we had to really put things in place to where like, hey, we're going to practice this and model this to where like kids are, I mean, regardless of what the score is, we're going to be up cheering and doing things and kind of building that culture up, and it just brings more juice and life to your program. So.
Coach, this isn't a trick question, but I'm going to ask it and I'm going to try not to lead you. Is your culture ever set and like finished to where we don't really have to address it or work on it anymore?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's fluid. I think culture is always evolving and always changing because if you don't, I heard a quote, I can't remember what the quote was. It was something I was reading, but I think if you don't, if you don't like drive your culture, if you don't drive that, then, it's like a car with no steering wheel. Yeah. You have everything there, but like, you don't know which way it's going to go, And so you always have to make sure you're being intentional about driving that culture in the direction you want it to go. And culture, people say culture and they always think of like positive, but like culture also can be negative too, So you want to make sure that your culture is breeding in the direction, like I said, you want it to go and breeding that positivity. It's something every day you have to make sure you do, just like we talked about like the daily habits. I mean, culture's got to be a daily habit.
Yeah, honestly. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt. Like the phrase you have to fight for your culture has become so cliche now. And people will almost like roll their eye, but it's so true. Like it's still true. And I'm thinking to a game this last year where like super proud of the team we had this season, not because of where we finished and we had some ups and downs throughout, especially with some injuries, but man, they were great. The seniors, especially great ambassadors for our culture. Oh, yeah. They really, I mean, it was just such a joy to be with them every day. But there were little moments where, like you said, we're in a game and we're beating a team that's not that. They're kind of inferior in a lot of ways, and we're doing good things. But you look down and you either see this or like a blank stare, and that's where it's hard. Like it's hard as a coach because we're already doing the thing that most people say is most important, which is we're winning. But there's more to it than that. And those moments, in my opinion, are moments of where slippage happens. But just stay intentional and to keep fighting and you almost have to not care about being annoying with your players, because those moments are really important.
Agreed. No, and like I mean, just little things. I think the big thing is that we talked about being egoless and stuff like that. Just getting yourself like removing like any type of like insecurity or doubt or any of that stuff, just setting it by the wayside, and going into doing what's best for the program as a whole. Like this year, I mean, this first time year I've ever done this, I'm like, you know what, like trying to add some juice to practice. So myself and one of our assistant coaches, like, we're going to put a practice jersey on and show them like us as old men, we're going to like dress out. So I had my little spandex on. I had the old practice shorts on. I walked in the gym, like, coach, you look like a football player. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We did like a little war drill. We call it our charge drill to start practice off. But like things like that, not just that, but just anything you can kind of do to show the kids you're a human first, and it's fun. You want to enjoy it. And so It doesn't have to all be negative. It doesn't have to all be rigid. You know, it can be things to show the human side and show that like we're in this because it's fun. I mean, yes, basketball is trying to win, trying to develop people, but like it's also a sport that's fun. So we should enjoy it, you know. And so letting your guard down and being able to do that type of stuff is huge.
Coach, 39 isn't that young. You're not old yet. I'm 41, so but the fact that you can do that, like get out there and still practice, like that's really impressive, man. I thought to myself, if I would do that, how quickly would I lose? Because there's a little bit of, since I don't like shoot a lot with them or don't play a lot, there's a little mystery. Like they think, man, can't Coach Saman, like could he really play? I would lose the credibility or injure myself super quick. So impressive that you can do that, man.
That's funny, you know. Well, it's funny because like I said, I do a drill. I won't do the whole practice, but I'll do a drill.
I used to demonstrate ball handling for years. I mean, at McKinney High School, Coach Watson, I feel like that's why he hired me. Partly was I could really demonstrate some ball handling drills, and now I can demonstrate 5 seconds. I can go super hard and fast for 5, but then I'll stop. They don't know that I'm about to lose the ball or like I'm tired. So I could give them 5 good seconds.
This is great because I'm the same exact way. You know, I gave them one drill then. I mean, over the course of this senior class, I mean, they've been around, you know, since their freshman year. I think they probably seen me shoot the ball maybe 4 or 5 times. Like, and this year, one time we had a very short group, you know, or very small group, small bench and everything. We had like 3 guys hurt. So somebody to jump in for us to do our, you know, our war drill, which is shell, whatever. So we're doing that, and like, I need another body. I'm like, well, I'll play offense. I'm not gonna play defense. So I get in there, and I end up going like 3 for 4, and they're like, what? And so I'm like, okay, that was a good day. So I'm done. I'm not doing anymore because tomorrow I won't make a shot. So you
got to know when to retire. Like you got to know, like don't be the guy that plays just one more season, one more. Yeah, that's good. So confidence is something that, I mean, the more and more that I do this, the more and more that I get to talk to coaches, like I realize that confidence is important for us to believe in ourselves, believe in our program, believe in our players. But confidence with these, and I don't think it's just because of today's player, of how aware they are of what everybody else is doing. But man, confidence, it might be that. Confidence is really hard for players to hold on to, I feel like. And what are some things that you do to help build it in your players?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think initially, number one is finding out who they are, you know, as people. You know, I think as a coach sometimes, and I've had great coaches, I've had coaches that, I mean, I've had pretty much all great coaches, but I've had some that I felt more confident playing with than others, I'll put it that way. And so, you know, the coaches I didn't feel as confident playing for, you know, there seemed to be some type of wall up, you know, and like at the end of the day, you know, as a coach, I feel like we're more so bridge builders than wall builders, you know, so let's try to build that bridge and really try to pour into the relationship piece of it, you know. And the reason why I think confidence is so important too is that like you really need to see who they are outside of, you know, basketball. I think that's the number one piece of building that confidence up, because if I look at you as just, you know, player X, the basketball player, then it seems like to be a transactional relationship, you know, like you're doing this for me, I'm doing this for you, you know, it's just like going to the grocery store and, you know, buying some milk. Okay, I gave the cashier some money and she gives me the milk back. We both, you know, got what we wanted, you know. When it comes to like a relationship building, you know, and like a knowing you outside of the game, it's more like a transformational relationship where like I'm pouring into you, you're pouring into me, we're both growing together. You know what I mean? And so like it's at least one of those situations where everybody has a chance to win because you're actually building that relationship up like that. So, but yeah, building the relationship up initially, knowing them outside of the sport, and then when you get on the court, you know, really trying to breathe that positivity in some way, shape, form, fashion, you know, and really having a checks and balance system when it comes to that too, because we're all human. We have days sometimes where we're not on our A game, you know, so having a coach or another person beside you to say like, hey coach, like bring it down a little bit. Even players, this year I had players that would say like, man, they need to go easy on him, he's just a freshman, you know, things like that. So things like that to really hold you accountable to what you're doing, you know. But I mean, again, it's really just seeing them outside of basketball, building those bridges, making sure the relationship is transformational like that. And then at the same time, though, being honest and being authentic. I mean, you have to be able to breathe that confidence by authenticity, because like anytime I didn't have the confidence to do what I wanted to do as a player, even as a person, I felt like again, with the wall up, you're really not really being your true self. Whereas like when you have that bridge and that connectiveness, you can be as authentic as you want to be. And so that lets him know that like, yes, you may not be the shooter that, you may want to be, or that, even we want you to be. But at the same time, though, we're on the same page. I'm being real with you. And so that it gives you the confidence to play within yourself and play with the skill set that we both had a discussion about. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with all that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think sometimes coaches and players, when they hear that word confidence, they think of it in almost in different arenas.
Yes.
Like I played my first college coach. He put confidence in us because we were so prepared.
Okay.
Like we knew the opponent, we knew his expectations, we were organized. And I think because of that, that might be where his confidence building ended, where you should be confident because we are prepared. That's definitely a part of it. But then I knew for a fact that when I got subbed in, if I made my first shot or if I didn't turn it over, if I did something positive, then I may play a ton. But the opposite is true. If I miss my first shot, then so the amount of added pressure, maybe of the lack of confidence that I had going, I was playing more out of fear of making mistakes, fear of looking over at the bench and not knowing. And I think that's where, we need to make sure that players understand where their confidence comes from. It doesn't come from us. It comes from their preparation and then what they think about. But then we have to acknowledge
100%.
The environment that we create that allows for confidence to flourish, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where, like, when you have you have different ways of kind of showing them, again, just being the authentic thing, like knowing thyself and knowing who you are, and we'll do things. I mean, even outside in the spring, this time of year, especially when I get over to the new place, but, we usually do things in the spring where we do like a Wisdom Wednesday, and Wisdom Wednesday is like some type of either character building curriculum or some type of thing where we kind of speak life into the kids. It could be something as small as, hey, these are our 2 words for the day, or it could be something as big as, sharing our testimony with them, sharing an experience we had, whatever. And so I do think that, like, when you know thyself, it's one of the best skills people can have, like knowing who you are and knowing who you're not, and the biggest thing too with that is also, and another level of that is really knowing the people around you too, and so it's all about the conversations you have. It's all about being able to, again, like break those walls down, and kind of really pour into people, and it gets kind of ugly at first sometimes because, you may not want to know all the skeletons I have. You may not want to know everything that I have that I'm struggling with, because you might, initially you might think that like that person may look at you differently, but all in all, though, I feel like, if you break it down a little bit, then you can build it back up, to where you guys have that synergy, and that's what we're after. So like you said, I mean, the confidence can come from preparation, and it does come from preparation as well. When you have that preparation mixed with, the added pieces, like my coach knows I can do this, he has confidence in me to perform at this level, then it takes it up a different level, and we've had teams and we played against teams that are very, very prepared, but like we can see things during games and see kind of tendencies that like, okay, yeah, he's prepared, but like we can take him completely out of his game just by face guarding him for 2 possessions or something like that, just something small, and like those are things that you have to make sure you're building from within, and making sure the kids understand that, like, I'm just not confident in you because your preparation. I'm confident in you as well because of your actual skill set and things you provide for us. So, but being real, man, that's what brings that confidence up. Being real, being authentic.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. I have followed you for a little while on social media, and that's kind of where this connection really came from. But then also appreciating the way that your program uses it to celebrate players, to kind of let outsiders like us in and see a little bit of your culture and what you're doing. So in what ways do you use social media to enhance your program?
Yeah. So it's just one of the signs of the times. You have to kind of get on the wave, and it's funny because, back when, I graduated high school in '02, there was no social media, there was none of that, it was all hearsay, and because of social media too, you can use it, you can use social media or social media can use you. I put it that way, and so we really want to try to promote the kids we have, and we're not going to give them anything. We're not going to say anything that's false. We're not going to, say, hey, you should be a Duke commit when you're really not, but at the same time,
Five
though,
star.
yeah, you're a 5-star, but you're not, But we are going to, again, with the authenticity piece, we are going to say, like, these kids have earned the right and to be highlighted and everything, and they want to see that. I really do think too that also adds relationship and trust building piece for us too, because when they see we're not just supporting them, in high school basketball, we're supporting them in AAU. I'm supporting them when they're, playing for their little showcase things that they do, and putting that out there. It really gives the parents, the community, and also, like you said, people that just be or passersby, like, oh, what's going on over there? They have some good things going on. They have some players there doing some things, and gives them that exposure. We look at the transfer portal and things like that. I mean, there are so many kids that are, trying to find a place to go, and these high school kids are getting looked at like, okay, when's it my turn to be looked at? So anything I can do to try to promote them and give them the love and the support they need. Even kids that maybe not have played as much for us this season, like, you're still part of the family. I'm still trying to give you the promotion you need because of, it just takes one coach to take a chance on you, and that one coach can change your whole life. And I mean, for me personally, it happened to me, so I do think that, giving them the chance and the opportunity to do something like that would be great. So we're all about social media, really about showing people, letting, like you say, outsiders into the program and seeing what goes on. Also giving parents a chance to see that, like, it's not all about, the wins and losses. It's about us, like, showing your son that, there's another way of doing things and you can be seen by other people too. So it really just helps everything out that way.
Yeah. If you don't mind sharing, what coach changed your life and how?
Oh my goodness. So my college coach, Coach Steve Shepard. So I was committed to Naval Academy. I was actually going to go there. And that was my spot. So my senior year, and this is, I'm glad you asked this. This is part of my big story, but one of the reasons why I coach now, actually. My senior year of high school, I got in some trouble. I was a good high school player, all region, area, whatever that stuff is in Dallas, and at the biggest high school in Texas, had a lot of things going on. My senior year, though, we had off-campus lunch. I skipped class and decided not to show up to that next class. Well, we had a test that day, and I got 0 on the test, so I was ineligible. This is my senior year after a great sophomore, junior year, all that stuff. So my last 6 games of my senior year, I couldn't even play. Didn't play at all. And so the Naval Academy was like, okay, it's a commitment, it's not a signing. So you have to. We can pull that anytime. So they pulled it. And so I was kind of scrambling around for places to go. And my father, who was in Army War College at the time, because, like I told you, did the military fire department thing, he met a professor at College of the Ozarks, and he's like, hey, it's not, Naval Academy, it's not the Patriot League and everything, but we play good basketball down here. We have a lot of guys that, come in and do things, and they, can perform really well, and you have the same level, essentially, of competition you'd want. Plus, we're all basketball crazy in Southwest Missouri. I'm like, okay, well, I'm from Dallas. I don't know, but I'll take a visit. So, Coach, I kid you not, I take a visit June 1st on my birthday, of my 18th birthday. I take a visit there. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I feel like this is where I need to be. And Coach Shepard, he's the head coach there. He's like, look, I can't promise you anything. All I can promise you is that when you leave here, you're going to, number one, work hard. Number two, you're going to be able to serve others. And number three, you're going to go from a boy to a man, and you'll be able to, not want for anything when it comes to being able to take care of a family and be a good citizen. And so I didn't think that at the time when I was going through it sometimes, because there were some rocky times, but, like, he was all those things. He was authentic with me. And he kind of evolved as a coach too, because, like, my freshman year, I was like, Coach, like, let me shoot the ball. Let me do this. And he's like, no, let's develop you into that, and he really, like, because of his authenticity piece, because of his, like, morals and values, because he was just real with us. He opened his home up and did things like that. I was like, you know what? This is the type of, like, environment I want to try to create for my players and everything too. Yeah. So, he changed my life completely, because I would have been tried to go to JUCO and had a totally different path and never been my true self. And I got to C of O, and I, like, was able to spread my wings, so it was a really great experience for me. He's a really great person. So I'm definitely thankful for all that. So
thank you for sharing that. I think sometimes as we get older, we start to look back at ourselves and make who we were as high school, college kids, or in our 20s, make ourselves sound better than we really were. And I think it like you go back to your authenticity piece. I think authenticity is inspiring. Yes. And so like people, players, parents, I think they can smell fake a mile away. And so 100%. When you it was kind of funny. It's listening to a random pastor on a podcast, and he was actually the guest at the church that I used to go to. So it was kind of just that random moment listening. And he stopped the talk and he said, we need to stop giving edited testimonies. You know, testimonies, I mean, yeah, that's usually
tough, right?
That's usually used with your faith. But our testimonies are stories. It's how we got to this point and what helped us or what hurt us and anyway, but I think it's so easy for players, for coaches, to use edited testimonies to make ourselves try to look and sound really good. Yes. And I think it's important because not only is it great to show how we got here and what we've come from, but just to let other people know that might be struggling in the moment, that, man, look, like, listen, if I can be a Grapevine Faith Christian School, anybody can, like that's how I feel.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, I look at even me getting to Liberty. Like, I mean, when I started the fire department and everything, I was doing that plus kind of trying to do some youth basketball stuff. And I always, I wanted to be at a high school. I met my wife and like I told her, I was like, I want to run a program and, develop kids all the way up. And that's before I even started doing any of that stuff. And so go to the fire department and everything, worked there for 5 years. Great time. I was in Dallas, I saw all types of stuff, and I mean, you kind of were a servant, you kind of just did everything you could do and rode the ambulance, everything, fought fires, loved the guys I work with, ex-athletes. It was awesome, but my wife is like, she's like, look, you feel like you keep saying that, like, that's not what you're here for. So, let's step out on faith and make a move, and so there were 4 schools that had openings, and Liberty was the first school that in Frisco that called me. And I ended up working for a coach that, he's like, hey, you have some basketball background. Why don't you come here and help? And so I just served the team for a year. I didn't even get paid. I was just here doing all the grunt work and did all that stuff. And then was able to, the next year, there were no spots open on his staff. And the next year, the JV coach decided to go do something else. And the year after that, the varsity assistant decided to do something else. And then the year after that, the head coach decided to do something else. So I kind of got thrust into this position. And like, that's all God's doing. That's all, faith. That's all part of the testimony, like you said, and so I try to tell people all the time, like you may feel like you're going through a storm in the moment. You may feel like, it's just part of it. You're going through the thick of it. You're never going to make it out, and like, I mean, as an authentic person, like we all have that, and it happens. And then you look up and you're like, man, I couldn't be in a happier place, in a better place because of that, so. I'm definitely feeling exactly what you said about that. It's the same thing. So
4 kids. What are the ages?
Oh goodness. 11, 10, 7, and 4.
You're in it, man. You're right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it.
I think balancing coaching and family is hard.
Yes.
At any stage of life. Like my wife and I, we've got a almost 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. So like I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, obviously I'm not going to push them out of the house or anything, but but like they're great boys and they're almost through. And then Jan and I are going to start this. I'll be 43 as an empty nester. I don't want to make you feel bad or anything, because you've got a ways to go, but we're going to have to we're still going to have to balance it. Yes. And so, but in your position, I would imagine there's a lot of coaches in their 20s and 30s and maybe 40s that have young kids still at home that you got to give so much time and attention to. But yet, I mean, you're building a program and you're so involved in that. So how do you balance those two things?
Whew, man, it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday process, and it takes a whole lot of intentionality. I think the main thing is, when it comes to when you look at pillars and look at like ways you want to live, I mean, it should translate in everything in your life, And so, again, I mean, when I talk about things we do as far as dependability, like they need to depend on the fact that, like, above everything, daddy loves them. I'm a husband first, I'm a father, I'm somebody that's going to be, before I do anything else, I'm that. And so understanding that, yes, I have a purpose. Yes, I have things that I feel like I was specifically called here and brought here to do. But at the same time, though, that love and care has to be shown there. So really being intentional about the time you spend with each one. And like all four of my kids are very much into sports. They're into fine arts. I mean, a lot of stuff. So they're kids that need time. And at the same time, though, it's really just being transparent, and authentic with them. Like, hey, this is what we have going on. I mean, if you saw my Google Calendar that my wife creates, because I don't create it, because I'm not that type of person.
But you follow it, though.
I follow it to the T. I mean, every single day, has stuff going on, but really trying to take personal time to invest in every person, invest in my wife, invest in, each kid and their specific interests, and really trying to build that and grow that. And that's, a big reason for me, going to a place like Melissa, where it's a one high school town, because right now we're in two different districts. My kids are in Prosper. We live in Prosper, and I'm in Frisco, obviously working. So different schedules, different districts, different breaks, different holidays, different spring breaks, different Christmas breaks. I mean,
that's tough. Yeah,
it's been tough, and so being under one umbrella and being part of that whole culture, like we're all going to be Cardinals. We're all excited to do it. Kids are excited to go to schools there and kind of go up through the pipeline and everything. So, I mean, that's one of those things where you want to try to, whenever you're making a decision as a coach and as a husband, I'm thinking about my family first, like what is best for them, and everything else after that, I know what I want to do. I know what I have selfishly, but like I have 5 other mouths to feed, I have to figure out. So really just trying to be intentional about that time, spending that time with them, and pouring into their essential needs that they have specifically, and as a guy and as a dad and as a coach too, really. I mean, we try to figure out the needs of your players, the same thing with your kids, like what does my 4-year-old need that my 10-year-old son may not need? And how do I pour into that more so than, what the other child may need, and really trying to find that specifically and kind of coach them up and love them up as you can. So
let me ask you this. Do you have any hobbies?
I do. So I'm a music minor. All right.
Okay.
So I play piano, classically trained piano. I've been playing for 34 years now. I sang in a restaurant in Branson when I was in college. So that's kind of, that's a hobby. But so
man, Coach, you could do it all. You work out. You have 4 kids. You can play instruments and sing.
Yeah, that was my thing, man. But no, we I have a 120-pound German Shepherd that I walk around. So he's like, he's a beast. And so, I mean, just doing stuff with him.
Coach, if you, so I'm a small dog person. I have two Shih Tzus. They're each 10 pounds. They're ferocious. They think, but if you were walking around the neighborhood and I don't even know if you'd talk to me. You'd probably think, wow, like that is the least manliest guy. That's awesome. I mean, but no, I asked that question because I've kind of noticed that with a lot of coaches, I mean, you and I have the same amount of time every day,
right?
And we both give so much to the programs and to our players, but then we have to give it to our families as well. 100%, and then 100%. It's just hard. It's hard to have, like, I'm always amazed. And I'm not saying that like, that fact that you can play instruments, you like music and sing, you got your dog, that takes a ton of time. But I've noticed like a lot of, like, if it is a hobby, it's something pretty simple that doesn't take a lot. Like we have to choose, just like we ask our players to choose to prioritize schoolwork, to prioritize basketball, and then somewhere down the line is friends and fun. We have to prioritize too. And I've just noticed that a lot of coaches, there's just not a lot of guys that have these big hobbies out there too that dominate a lot of time.
Yes, no, it's not. Nothing I do is really ultra time consuming, and like, I mean, that's why the early morning workouts happen, and that's my window, and I'm done. I have, and the cool thing is now is that, like, because my kids are really, my older two especially, they really want to like invest in their athletics. That's what they want to do. And so, I mean, they'll get up sometimes too and say, hey, can I go shoot? Can I go do this? My daughter plays volleyball. Can I go get some hits in? And they're waking me up sometimes saying, Dad, it's 4:40. I'm like, I got 5 more minutes. Like, but I'm ready now,
That's unique.
So, it's very unique. So, but no, I mean, any hobby I have, can't be dominated too much, And like when I was younger, I mean, I used to like watching movies and stuff and do things like that, and I can tell you, I watched, Creed 3. That's the last movie I've seen.
Okay, Coach. How awesome was that?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was great. I loved it.
I liked all the creeds. That
Yeah,
to me was by far the best. But
absolutely,
out of the
absolutely.
whole genre, which I love
Yeah,
all the Rockies and
yeah,
stuff
me too.
too,
Me too.
that's up
Me
there,
too.
man.
No, it was awesome. It was awesome, and I mean, because the story you kind of follow the storyline and everything, but just the way he put everything together, and just the scenes and the emotion behind it. Like there was never a dull moment for me. We went and
Never.
watched it. Yeah,
Yeah.
never. It was awesome. We watched the studio movie grill, and like I'm usually eating food and watching the movie. I put my food down, just was glued in. My chicken strips were getting cold, so it was great.
Yeah, I took my boys to watch it, and I just
Yeah,
remember thinking, like, it's one of the best, like, most well done
yes, sir.
movies I think I've seen. Because I'm a Marvel fan, and I
Okay.
feel like they've just been like, man, just kind of
Yeah, it's been tough.
tanking in the last year
Tough.
since Endgame. But
Yeah.
it's fair. Like, how do you come back from like how amazing those were?
Oh
And
no, that's
anyway, getting back to it, it was just
yeah.
so great to see. Awesome movie. I wanted to go work out right after it, which that didn't
Yeah.
last too long, but that's good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, it's that was awesome. I can't wait to my son especially, my 10-year-old, he's starting to kind of see some Rocky stuff a little bit. So he's kind of getting that age where he's starting to get it. So I told him I'm gonna start you at the beginning though. I'm not gonna like jump you into Creed yet. We gotta start you in Rocky and
Well done. You're
not go
right.
through
Like
yeah,
you
can't
could
jump
you could skip five. You
yeah,
could skip Rocky
absolutely skip
five.
five.
That's
Yeah.
just
Tom,
that
Tom
was
Cruise.
that was Tommy Gunn. That was a swing and a
Gun.
miss. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. This is a super unique question to ask you. Typically, the coaches that have been doing it for 30, 40 years answer the what would you do differently? But in a sense, you're about to start over because
Yeah.
you've been at Liberty for 9 years building relationships and a culture.
Mhm.
You're going to Melissa. So you get to think about now the
Yeah.
things that you wish you could have done, and you actually get to do it.
Yes.
So what's something you do differently if you could start over, let's just say at a program?
Yeah. So I think initially, you come in with the mindset of humility, and that was, and I'm not saying I didn't the first time, but I'm saying like going into this, really being humble because there are things and there are people and there are systems in place there currently that, um, frankly, I don't necessarily know completely or may be foreign to me, completely. So really just coming in with humility and really trying to, listen and learn and kind of, like I said, bridge build when it comes to that. Getting to know the staff, really getting into initially like introducing yourself, just a simple hello, saying hi to everybody on campus, just knowing who you are, who they are, and just building that name, face recognition and stuff. Um, Program piece of it really when it comes to we're going to have assistant coaches there that have been there for a little bit and everything, and so really listening to them and being an ear, and just being a sponge. Again, we talked about being egoless. It's not about like, yes, I'm the head coach of the program, but this is our program. It's not mine solely. So I'm really big on empowering coaches and giving coaches a voice and stuff. And so really just getting them the opportunity to tell me what's going on and learning the cardinal way essentially and all that stuff, because I think sometimes we can come into a situation and like really go guns a-blazing, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this impact. I'm going to make sure that, our kids are doing X, Y, Z, and it sometimes feels forced and kind of overbearing, And again, going back to my college coach, I mean, when Coach Shepard went to college at the Ozarks, he kind of did the same thing. He was coaching at a high school and then went to college, and a guy had been there for a long period of time, and he came in and slowly but surely started like working in things, and so.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of made his transition a lot smoother. And so for me, it's that. I mean, really trying to build relationships, not forcing anything, coming in, serving the community, but being authentic about it, not doing it, for, attention, but doing it just for the good intentions, if you will. And then after you, build that relationship up, then you just wait for that, connection and that response piece that they're going to give you. And then, eventually you'll kind of build that bridge to where they have respect for you and all that type of stuff. So just taking it slow, honestly. I mean, I was fortunate to start here as a teacher and then, kind of moved up the ranks. And so I really didn't have to, people didn't have to necessarily get to know me as the head coach. They kind of knew me as teacher first.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a coach, he's this, and kind of built up to that. Whereas like right now, it's a different, framework. I'm coming in as a coach and, had a good program coming from, things like that. So it's a whole different lens that people are looking at from. But like at the end of the day, if I'm going to be able to come in there, I have to come in there with humility and go in there and just serve and just really try to, pour in places and just be a sponge. That's the main thing. So,
man, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that because I would imagine the impulse, and I think I did that here a little bit. The impulse is to within your program, but without realizing it, you can do it in the classroom, do it with with other teachers too. Is listen, I'm here. I don't really care about what you've done in the past or the old way. Here's the new way. And there are times where that might be necessary. Like, let's just say you're at a place where there is no culture or the culture was super negative. Well, I mean, I happen to know a little bit about Melissa basketball. It was a program that when I was at McKinney, I mean, I really looked up to because, again, that name, Hondo Webb, I coached against him, but it was because Melissa, they played McKinney at one time, kicked our tail. And I was just I loved everything about what the program was about, everything. So you do have that rich history. And then, man, great job of thinking about those assistants you have, because that's one thing I've struggled in the past is I think, sadly, I almost enjoy a little bit or would rather sometimes being a one-man show. Like just it's in my head. I'm going to go with it. I struggle to slow down and to ask for input. But like recognizing that you got those assistants, they will have valuable information about relationships, culture, some background information that, man, you really, it's good that you knew that. So that's impressive that you're seeing it that way.
Yeah. No, and that's the beauty of being able to, kind of, like you said, start anew, if you will, because I think the main thing is just, again, kind of fighting the urge to go in and shake things up, because like at the end of the day, even if the person that was there before you, the culture was good or bad, either way, you're a different person than whomever was there before, so, you can have, you can do 10 things in a row and check the boxes and everything, but two different people are saying it and doing it, you can have a different result, you know what I mean? So you want to make sure that, you're being yourself, you're being authentic at the same time, but, just humility, that's the big thing. I mean, I can't, everything in life that happens, you have to kind of come in right here, and not try to come in like this, because if you come in like this, you're going to lose a lot of people in that gap, so if you come in right here, you can all kind of lift up together. And that's kind of where, I'm trying to approach it. So.
Coach, you ever watch the show Suits?
Oh yeah.
I just thought about Harvey Specter talking to Mike, and he says, a lot of guys are right here.
Yeah.
I like it here. When you did that, it just made me think of, all right. Yeah. But you're right. Like the idea, like the Harvey Specter idea of just steamrolling over people.
Yeah.
And being like, one, it's a show. I get that. But there are people that try to do that. In our profession, it takes a village, man. And so like we need a lot of people involved. And a question about, so when I came to Faith, I basically took the style of play that we had created at McKinney, brought it over. And I'm telling you, I got lucky. Great seniors, great players. The style of play that I brought in happened to work for them, kind of like lightning in a bottle thing. But then unfortunately, and I've kind of apologized to years 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 of still finding myself and experimenting with them and styles of play and not really understanding what works best for this clientele and whatnot. Are you bringing over a style of play that, like, not that you're set in stone, but this is what I like, and I'm pretty sure I can bring these guys in? Or are you kind of going over with a blank slate of, I'm not sure what works with these guys, and I'll figure that out?
Yeah, I got you. So I think it's kind of crazy. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is that, like, when you have a certain game model, and your game model for me would be like, I want to run, I want us to get out in transition, I want us to flow into whatever we're flowing into, and I want us to be fighters, man. I want us to, like, be the first to the floor. I want us to take charge. I want us to make tough plays. I want us to fight on the offensive end. And fighting on the offensive end for us is like, let's pass up the good to get the great shot. Let's do the long possession here. We need to kind of slow it down and have that, mental awareness and stuff like that. So when your game model is, run, flow, fight, regardless of what your system is going to be, if you're doing those three things, if somebody's watching you play, they should be able to say, this team runs, this team, gets into their stuff pretty quickly. Man, transition defense is great. This team is a team full of fighters, man. These guys are tough. They play hard. They play the right way. They play with a certain confidence that they have, that borderlines on cockiness that shows that they have that, that grit and that tenacity and everything. So, there's a style of play. I mean, typically these last couple of years, we've, run a ball screen motion offense, essentially where, the ball is moving, but we have, pace and space. Defensively, we've had more years. We get after, we pressure a little bit more, which that's kind of been a staple of everything we've done. But at the same time, though, whatever your philosophy is going to be, which mine would be pretty similar, I would think initially, you have to make sure there's buy-in and make sure your players can adapt to that, and I think that you can adapt to your players. Like some classes we have that, we're going to have classes. I had one group, my first year here, we were huge. We started 4 guys that were above 6'6". My point guard was 6'4". I'm in a 5A school. And so I'm sitting here like, okay, the last 3 years I was here, we ran a run and jump press where we got after it, picked you up 94 feet. And I'm like, okay, I have, 3 kids over here that can, they can touch the sideline standing side by side, sideline to sideline. So I'm like, look, let's try to mix it up. So we go 1-3-1, Now we still ran, we still flowed into our stuff, I still wanted to have a team full of fighters and everything, but the way it looked was different. Flash forward to this year, I have one guy who's above 6'5", and so now we were athletic, but one guy that can actually, that had a little bit of size. So we still wanted to run, get out in transition. We still wanted to flow into our stuff. And then we wanted to fight. It just looked differently. It just looked different when it came to like what was on the court. But when it comes to like how we play, though, there should be a distinct style of play regardless, and now the X and O's part of that may be a little bit different. But like as far as how we play and what it looks like, it should be the same. So
yeah, well said, man. And I think what you're saying, like concepts can travel 100%. From place to school. Exactly. But maybe the continuity, maybe what defensive you choose might differ based on your personnel, but the concepts that you teach, you can continue to tweak and mold those. So I completely 100%. Get that, man.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for the opportunity because here I have 3 middle school feeders. So but they're not direct feeders. So I don't know as far as we can go down in the middle schools in Frisco and show visibility, especially where I'm at.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Melissa has 3.
No. Melissa, Frisco has 3 feeders. They're like,
yes.
And like, so where I'm at, like, I can't really, it's harder to instill those concepts because of the 30 of these kids I'm not even going to get. Some schools, 9% of the kids we won't get. Some schools will get a little bit, and it varies from class to class. Whereas, like, one of the things I'm really excited about is that some of those concepts, that you can develop. In high school, you can develop those in the middle school, and you can have a direct feeder to where, like, yes, it may not look the same when it comes to skill level and talent level, but they're still doing the same thing the Cardinal way, where they're running, they're flowing, they're fighting. We're building those concepts and skill sets then. So when they get to high school, now it's just, I always say like varsity is where you do your junk. You know what I mean? So like we might throw a 1-3-1. We might throw like some run and jump stuff. We might, box and one possession, just little things like that, because like you're trying to get that win in that game. But like when kids are developing and trying to learn, though, that's more of like what your universal concepts for your program should be. So I'm really excited to kind of build that up there. And that's something I haven't had the opportunity to really do like I want to. And so I can't wait.
Coach, the speed round. Quick questions. First thing that pops in your head, just blurt it out.
Okay.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookie dough.
Greatest shooter of all time?
Larry Bird.
I have a hard time. I love Larry. I have a hard time just not saying Steph myself.
No, I got you. No,
but our ages, I get that.
Well, so I can tell you why with Larry.
Go ahead.
When Steph plays a game left-handed, then he can call me.
Good call. Well said. Best basketball movie of all time.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. That's so tough. That's so tough. Oh boy. I would say rebound. Earl the Goat, man the Goat. That one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Shot clock.
Good. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Okay, you're up 3 on defense, 7 seconds left. Foul or no foul?
Up 3, 7 seconds left. Depends on where the ball is.
All right.
Depends
Let's
on
say it's let's say half court.
Half court. How many fouls do we have to give?
None. None
No
to
fouls
give.
to give? So
No.
none to give.
No. So like you're either making them, you're letting them shoot a 3,
Okay.
or you're putting them on the line.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I would it'd be KYP, be personnel driven. So if we have like a team like we've had, like my first group, that huge group where I know can rebound pretty well.
Yeah.
We can do it. Then I probably would foul. We have a group like we have now or this past year where we can switch everything, guard 1 through 5, put a lot of pressure on you, force you taking a bad shot. Or even like a team that's highly intelligent that you practiced where like I'm going to give you we have an umbrella defense where we have all guys around the 3-point line and make you, either shoot a 3, a deep 3 or a layup,
Yeah.
So I would KYP on that one. So sometimes I would say it varies based on your personnel, but I kind of lean towards the no foul when it comes to that. But I would foul if I had the people. So
that's good. What book would you give somebody?
John Maxwell's 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork. That's something we read every day or every season.
Place you most like to travel?
Say I'm sorry to get cut out for a second.
Yeah, favorite place to travel?
Oh, Mexico, Cancun with my wife. We love it.
Nice.
2.5 hour flight from Dallas, not far, same time zone.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's not far at all. It's not long at all. Yeah.
Wow. My wife and I love to go to Hawaii, but there's a part of like just the journey is so tough. It's like you're going 8 hours.
Going 8 hours, yeah. No, it's Cancun's quick and it's easy. It's on the beach and we can get back home quickly.
Okay. In basketball, who is the GOAT?
Michael Jordan.
No hesitation there. Okay, since you're a music guy, favorite music genre?
I like 2000s R&B, 90s R&B. When I'm like, just like driving around, I like hip hop too. But if you ask me like an unexpected genre, people would say. So my grandmother used to grow up playing oldies and stuff. And I'm talking like oldies like Fats Domino, old like Temptations, the Four Tops, things like that. Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, like old Motown. Yeah, I can listen to Motown all day.
Wow. So. All right, last one, probably most important. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
I drink no cups of coffee, but I do have a Celsius or 2.
Okay, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Celsius, those are good. I'm a C4 guy myself, which when I'm not drinking coffee, which is often. But Coach, this was awesome. Our paths haven't crossed a lot over the years, which is crazy, right? That you and I have been at the high school for almost the same amount of time. I've 16 years overall, but 10 years here at Faith, but the DFW area is just so large that it's very possible not to run into somebody. But loved getting to learn more about you and how you run your program, a little bit of your history, and then excited for what you're going to do at Melissa, man.
Appreciate it. No, I'm excited. I can't wait to do it, and I'm thankful to be on here and talk to you and everything. I love talking hoops with people, so it's great.
If coaches want to learn a little bit more, reach out or follow you, what's a good way?
Yeah, it's my Twitter is, I got to think about it for a second. Twitter is at Coach Friar 316. At Coach Friar 316, and then my Instagram is at Coach Friar 33. So
awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.